Today, Tisha B'Av, such a holy day. Such a day to really focus within. Such a day to look back in time and try our best to undo all that was done years ago. So much sorrow and so much pain. And yet, today we can actually make a real transformation. Today we can really feel positive and look forward to the future. Today, during this fast day, we can look at ourselves and see what can we do to bring the ultimate redemption so much closer. What can we do today to bring the ultimate redemption now, so that we can live our life as if we're already there? Today we're going to explore the spiritual symbolism and life messages that are within the Bais Hamikdash and its vessels. Each particular vessel cries out to us and teaches us such lessons in our life of how to attain the holy of holy within ourselves. We know many times during these 3 weeks, and especially today, that we keep thinking, when, why, how come? And we have to really understand that these days are days that Hashem is closest to us. Hashem is reaching out to us with these messages of the Beit Hamikdash. There's a parable. There was once a great king who liked to stroll in the woods. And on one such stroll, in the deepest of the forest, the king heard beautiful music surrounding him. He looked around and discovered a little boy playing with his flute. Enamored of the music, the king spoke to the child and found that he was an orphan. The king decided to bring the boy back with him to live in the palace, where he would be available to play for the king regularly. The boy was well cared for by the palace staff, and after only a few years, he grew in high position in the king's court. Eventually, as time grew, he became full of himself and overly comfortable in his position. This behavior of the lad affronted and disgusted the king, and he refused to allow the youth in his sight. Suddenly, he remembered his origins. This lad recognizes how much he had owed to the king who had taken him and raised him with such kindness and generosity. No words can describe how terrible this young man felt. Humbly, he approached to the king, playing his old tunes, begging his forgiveness. Imagine Hashem gave us this opportunity to see where we can make efforts to bring peace and harmony into His world. The position He gave us to make a difference. The position He gave us to help be His co-creator. So without further ado, let's look into the Beit Hamikdash and see what messages we can learn. In the Beit Hamikdash, there was a courtyard. And at the courtyard, there was a Mizbeach HaNechoshet. And this Mizbeach HaNechoshet actually was considered very holy. And this was the first step. If you look at the design of the Beit Hamikdash, this was as if the first step one would enter to reach eventually to the Holy of Holies. This Mizbeach HaNechoshet was considered very holy. When you look in the Torah, it is quite astonishing that it is called very holy, because the other Mizbeach, which was made out of gold, which was closer to the Holy of Holies, was just called holy. So the question was asked, why is it that this Mizbeach, which is in the courtyard, considered so holy? First of all, it represents our outer behaviors and our goal to create the most outer behaviors that are the most pure and holy. Everything that we do can have an impact on the people around us. Every action, every word, every speech can influence someone to get closer to Judaism, or God forbid, the opposite. So the more we realize the message of the day, right away in the beginning is to see what we can do to refine our outer behaviors. And the Mizbeach HaNechoshet actually represents that first step that we need to take. And that is prayer. Prayer helps us to refine our animalistic tendencies. As we know in the Beit Hamikdash, when they would bring the animal sacrifice, the animal represented their animalistic tendencies. So the first thing we have to do in the morning is enter the Beit Hamikdash. Enter to the Mizbeach of the words in our Siddur, and realize that we're starting our day to sacrifice our animalistic tendencies so our outer behavior would be as holy as possible. And if you look at the word nechoshet, it has the word nachash, which is like that Yetzer Hara, that animalistic tendency that we daily need to sacrifice. If someone had a goring and angry personality, they would bring an ox. If someone had a stubborn, cold personality, they would bring a goat. If someone had a lustful personality, they would bring a sheep. So daily when we're opening our siddur, the first step that we need to take to get into our Holy of Holies is first eradicate, consume the animalistic tendency within us. That's why prayer, as we always say, is called avodat halev, the working of the heart of anger, the heart of sadness, the heart of anxiety. Because if you realize every minute that you're not engaging in prayer or learning or doing a mitzvah, you are vulnerable to that snake. Every second you aren't actively engaging in remembering what are you here for. You then become a prime target, a prime candidate for sadness, anxiety, and all kinds of spiritual destructions. So the first step is to get rid of your animal, to get rid of those types of animalistic behaviors that can turn the other person away from Hashem. and prayer is the way. We always talk about the Bais Hamikdash as being in replacement the tefillahs that we do is in replacement of the Beit HaMikdash. So the more we're going to learn what's going on in this Beit HaMikdash service, the more we can connect our whole being while we're engaging in such a holy endeavor. So after the priests would go into the Beit HaMikdash and do the Mizbeach, the service of the Mizbeach HaNechoshet and the animal sacrifice, there would be a vessel. And the vessel represented, this vessel, which was the kior, which would allow the Kohanim to rinse away and purify their hands and feet, represents what happens after we experience the davening service. Now, after we prayed, after all the schmutz, the negative and the animalistic tendencies are washed away, we have the power to be able to engage in the material in a very holy way. And if you remember how the construction of the kior was made, it was made out of the mirrors of the women who donated their mirrors. And I remember learning that Moshe Rabbeinu was kind of baffled when they were collecting all kinds of material to build the Beit HaMikdash, of the Mishkan, actually, because the Mishkan came before the Beit HaMikdash. Moshe Rabbeinu did not know whether to accept these mirrors. Eventually he found out, Hashem said, no, these beautiful mirrors are so dear to me. These mirrors help the Jewish women make themselves beautiful. These mirrors help the Jewish people continue. Because these women, the women who beautified themselves to arouse their husbands to want to be together and to populate the Jewish people. Because remember, at the time, there was a decree. Pharaoh was throwing babies into the sea, and the men did not want to populate the world anymore. And the women said, but if we don't continue having babies, then there won't even be any one of us left. It's one thing to throw male babies into the sea, another thing to like stop females from existing too. This decree would be even worse than the Pharaoh's decree. And so to entice their men, they would become beautiful with these mirrors, adorning themselves so that their men would be more willing to cohabitate. So Hashem said, these women use the Gashmiut, they use the material for a holy purpose. They had faith. These mirrors represent so much. And so as we do the first step of the day and try our best to eradicate the animalistic tendencies, it reminds us, now that we're more realigned, now that we've had that spiritual adjustment, having engaged in prayer, now we can go out into the world and take the physical and use it in a holy way. And if you see the next structure after the kior, and after I'll show you pictures there was the Ketoris. Which, remember, the inner Mizbeach was considered holy, but the outer Mizbeach was considered very holy. But we have to remember that not only do we have to work on the outside behaviors, but we also have to work on the inside behaviors. The inside behaviors of our thoughts, our deepest feelings about things, the way we view people and the world around us, is just as important to purify, just important to cleanse and to elevate. And if you look at the other artifacts in the Beit Hamikdash, the showbread and the menorah, these two artifacts were placed in a position helping us understand how to just do that. The showbread, as we are taught, were 12 breads, loaves of breads that were baked and would be kept fresh for the whole week. And in the end of the week, the Kohanim would be given a portion of this bread. It was like miraculous bread, higher than maybe even the man, min hashamayim, because the little that this portion was given to each Kohen was actually very filling and satisfactory. And this represents having gotten rid of our animalistic tendency through prayer, having washed away all of our tendencies, our lustful tendencies, our very animalistic tendencies, we're enabled to experience the world around us in a very godly way. We were saying that the way in by which one can elevate all the spiritual aspects of every physical being around is through using the world around us in a godly way. If there is no holy intent, then we end up partaking of the physical in a lustful way, whatever it is, especially food. So we have to see the divine light before our eyes, as if we're seeing the sparks of holiness in this actual physical entity, whether, again, if it's food, if it's shopping for clothing, whatever it is that we're engaging in the physical. The table represented our eyes to see the truth of what's spiritually embedded in this physical that we're about to engage in, helping us micromanage our way in which we will elevate that physical entity. Because more than anything, we have to be careful not to block the spiritual flow that's coming to us. And we are taught the more we engage in physical that is not l'shem shamayim, that is not for Hashem, then the more engaging unnecessarily in the physical clogs and blocks our heart, so that the opposite of redemption takes place. We are taught the whole purpose of our being on this earth, one of the main missions, is to redeem the godly essence of our soul that's buried deep within. And that's the whole designer, the Beit Hamikdash, teaching us how to get closer and closer to that inner essence of our heart, where all the goodness and all the purity lies within. That's where our Holy of Holies resides. But if we engage in the material too lustfully and too mindlessly, then not only are we not circumcising our heart and getting rid of the blockages to dig deep and redeem that beautiful heart of ours, where all the positive emotions and all our amazing holy attributes are, so what happens is we end up putting upon ourselves layer after layer after layer and taking step backwards to redeem ourselves. So the Shulchan reminds us, you don't need so much. Be satisfied with the minimal. Be satisfied with what is needed. Be satisfied with what will give your body the strength to be clear-minded, to be wholesome, to have an unobstructed pathway for the holiness to reside within you. The other artifact, the holy menorah, also represents our other eye. One eye to see what in the physical world will be able to help us see clearly on how to engage in the physical world. And the other eye, the menorah, helping us to see the beauty of the people around us, to help us see the good of the others. As we were saying, Hashem's eyes are roaming to and from the earth. And when you think about Hashem's eyes and the symbolism of this menorah and what it's asking us to do today is to be more God-like and see like God sees. There's a pasuk that says, Hashem sees but takes no notice. What we're trying to do is let our eyes, and instead of constantly looking at the failures of man, constantly battling distrust of the other, constantly seeing the negative that ends up hurting us and causing distance and unity. Especially on a day-to-day, we can make a real decision in our life to use this God-like vision to see only good around us and to help us increase achdus and avas Yisrael and avas chinam. And the menorah was a symbolism of this light. The menorah was the symbolism of this vision. The menorah represented the ability to see right. How was their light? How was their vision from the menorah? First of all, we know that the oil was needed. Without oil, there's no light in this menorah. The same thing in our personal life. The more wisdom, the more we learn Torah, the more we draw forth God's wisdom within, the more our eyes see differently. The more we have the vision of no vision. of negativity. How many times a day do I get calls from around the world, heart-wrenching, unbelievable, crushed to no end because of past traumas, because of recent relationships that one is not respecting the other, and their eyes become closed, their eyes become dimmed, they lose hope, they don't see a possibility out of the darkness. If only we can help each other open our eyes. If only we can follow God's lead and see behind the scenes, to see deeply behind the person who is crushed, to see deeply how lost they may be, instead of taking personally their behavior toward us. If we can only have that X-ray vision of seeing the godly sparks that are buried within that person, instead of brokenheartedly becoming lost because of their energy. This is the menorah. This is the menorah that helps us see. But without the wisdom flowing from our mind to our heart will be closed. Our heart can get pained. Our heart will not open up. And God forbid a vicious cycle forever entrapping us to shine our light. Take a moment and think about your life right now. See how many situations on a daily basis that other people can trigger you in the wrong way. If you are not fighting your Yetzer Hara with flowing wisdom of God's Torah, then you will find yourself fighting with other people. And if not fighting, barricading yourself and separating yourself from having an influence on them and the world. Today, Tisha B'Av, we have to think about what is it that we're allowing other people to do that is snuffing out our light. And if you look at the way the menorah was built and how the light was ignited, there was a 3-step ramp that led up to the menorah. The fact was that the menorah did not need these steps to be lit. Aaron would come up those 3 steps and then light the menorah. He didn't have to. He could have been standing straight and he reached the light. The message was, in order to bring out the light in others, you need to make an effort to raise yourself up. And the only way you can raise yourself up is by the whole process of what they did in the Bais Hamikdash. The first step would be engaging in the prayers, sacrificing your animalistic tendency. Now you've cleared away and washed away your negative tendencies, your ego, your hurt feelings, your tendency to barricade yourself, your tendency not to shine your light because of what's going on in the world at large or more. Now you are able to engage in the physical and eat the amount you needed and not to overindulge and go too enmeshed in all the physical temptations around the world. And you learn Torah after you pray. That flow of divine wisdom flowing through you allows the negative to continue to be eradicated. When your mind is so full of God's wisdom, there is no room but for your neshama to shine. This is the menorah. This is what we need to do in our daily lives to allow our light to shine. And if you notice, the windows of the Beit Hamikdash were concave because the windows weren't there to bring the light of the sun inward. The windows were concave because the light of the menorah shone so far, miles and miles away. So every holy deed that we do down here on this earth outshines the light of the sun and beams outward. One mitzvah you do here to protect yourself from being immodest can save a Jewish soldier in Eretz Yisrael, the Rebbe would say. Your light of your mitzvah here brings bounty and blessings to the whole world. Your beautiful smile can radiate for generations to come. You have no estimation of the incredible power a one good deed today does for generations. Miriam, Haniviyah, watching her brother to make sure that he was safe by the water's edge, gave merit for all of the people to have water throughout the journeys of the Midbar. Imagine her merit hydrated the Jewish people and all their journeys. We have to really harness this understanding of how powerful our neshama and our light is. I was just recently in a shul on Shabbos, and the rabbi was giving a beautiful Dvar Torah. And the Dvar Torah had to do with the whole discussion of the destruction of the Beit Hamikdash and how one Jew named Rev Chaim, because of his humility, the Beit Hamikdash was destroyed. And it's kind of shocking when you think about it. Don't we learn that it was because of sinas chinam? That there was just baseless hatred? Don't we learn that maybe because of Bar Kamsa V'Chamsa, the argument at that party, that and he was saying they were father and son. That was the first time I heard that, but that there was, and how many times do I hear there's so much disunity between even family members, like a father and a son. That there was a party and one was invited, and by accident the other one was invited and was really not the person that was supposed to be invited. And so the uninvited person that thought he was invited shows up to the party, and he's super embarrassed when he's asked to leave. And he's like, please, please don't shame me. I'll pay for half of the party. Let me stay. Nobody did anything. As he was being shamed and almost dragged out. The Chachamim were standing there. They did nothing. And he's saying, I'll pay for the whole party. And no, this man was so so upset because of all of the lack of behaviors, and nobody actually protected him. All the people, the high officials here at this party, and no one peeped a word to protect him. And what happened in the end? He was so upset that he informed against his own people. And he contrived a kind of a situation where he knew this kind of situation would really make the government upset. And what did he do? He said, you bring a sacrifice to the Beit Hamikdash and see what happens. You see, they're revolting against you, they're anti the government here, you know, all the propaganda. So he delivers the sacrifice and makes a nick in it, and knows that he brings this sacrifice to the Beit Hamikdash, they're not going to accept it. He was very knowledgeable. So this Reb Chaim, as he sees the sacrifice that's supposed to be offered, and he notices the nick, and he's asked, like, what to do? You know, if we don't accept it, then the false accusations will be believed, and this could lead to our destruction. Reb Chaim didn't know what to do. He didn't feel powerful enough. He says, what can I do to make the decision here? And he lacked the belief in himself to have made the decision to accept the sacrifice, because it would be protecting the whole Jewish people. And so the teaching is taught that because of his humility, because he didn't feel powerful enough to put his foot down and make a decision to save the people, then the whole Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. This is our job every day, to look in the mirror and say, what am I not doing to make the world a better place? Why is my low self-esteem, or my lack of self-esteem, or what is it that's causing me not to believe in the beautiful neshama and the light that I have to shine out in the world? What am I not doing to make this world a better place? How am I allowing the whole world or the people around me to snuff out my light? Today we can step up and make a commitment to shine our light. That's the menorah. Next we see in the Beit HaMikdash is the curtain. Now the curtain, behind the curtain was the Aron. And this curtain had an image of the Kruvim that were underground at this point. Right before, about 22 years before the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, there was a prophecy to place the Aron underground into the chambers of the inner chambers of the Beit HaMikdash. That when it was designed 420 years ago, from that day, it was known that there was going to be a destruction. It was known that there was going to be needed an inner chamber to hide the Aron there. And for all those years, it was hidden. But on this curtain, we could see the beautiful Kruvim, which were on top of the Aron, which was like a barometer to see what the connection between Hashem and the Jewish people. And hold on one second again. back to the loving Kruvim. So for all those years when they wanted to see this like barometer of how Hashem was feeling close to us or not close to us, these two Kruvim, we are taught, when the Jewish people had unity, the faces of these two angel-like Kruvim would look at each other. When there was disunity, there was the looking away, as it were, almost like as if there was no eye-to-eye communication. So we see here, when the time of the Beit Hamikdash actually was destroyed, on the Jewish people were witnessing as the Romans were taking these curtains out, they would see right before their very eyes this almost like a video, showing us what the Kruvim were doing. And in fact, not only were they facing each other, but they were hugging each other. And the question is asked, wait a minute, we were just like, supposedly the Beit HaMikdash is being destroyed because of the sins of our people, but yet the Kruvim were not only facing each other, but embracing and hugging each other. So Hashem was basically telling us, my dear children, I'm with you, I'm holding you. Through this and more, I am showing you that it's all that is being done is done from a place of love. Everything that's being done is coming from a place of love. Even though your very eyes can't understand it, and even though your very eyes see the opposite, always with love. Whatever will happen in your life, and no matter how destructive something seems to be, and no matter what tragedy or hell that you may be experiencing in your life now, I am with you. I am holding you. I am embracing you. I am always with you. It's just right now you can't see. This is the message. As we more and more get enlightened, as we more and more have partaken in the physical in a spiritual way, and the more and more we washed away our negativity by our prayers, the more and more we can have that ability and sense God's embrace all around us as we were going through life's journey. And as we train ourselves to look behind the curtain, we then have access to more and more of our holy of holiest self. And behind this curtain was the Holy of Holiest. And so every day as we are engaging in life and we move the curtain and see the holiest of a holiest experience, even though it's so hard for us to see it that way, but we always can train ourselves daily. No matter what happens around us, I'm opening the curtains and I'm seeing the truth of reality of how holy this is, even though my physical eye cannot see it. And then we see the Holy of Holies within ourselves. The Kruvim actually were the face of children. And the image of their eyes looking down in this 3 boxes that contain the tablets, teaching us that our eyes have to constantly be connected to the Torah. Because if not, then we lose touch. We lose that connection of our Holy of Holies self. So we try our best to understand that the only way to experience the Holy of Holies of ourselves is by constantly looking at the Torah, constantly it's giving us the nourishment. In fact, making our eyes bloodshot red. In fact, just like a person who is lovesick for someone and they're gazing at them like two doves, that the eyes start to get red from gazing too strongly, as if drunk with wine, right? When you have too much wine, your eyes get red. So the Torah not only gives us the ability to experience that Holy of Holies within ourselves, but it gives us the ability to actually increase our joy, increase our intoxication of love, and all the beautiful emotions that we can experience, that we can feel intoxicated with positivity, rather than the opposite of the negative. Because when more our Holy of Holies get exposed and redeemed, the more we can face reality with joy, with trust, with faith, and even with happiness in the midst of anything coming our way. And if you looked at the structure of the 3 boxes that contain the 10 Commandments, they were made out of an outer gold. That was the one box, and then there was another box, and it was made of archaea wood, and then there was another gold box. And inside that third gold box was the Bais Hamikdash. The Aron that was situated in the Bais Hamikdash of the inner chamber of the Bais Hamikdash. And so the message of why these 3 components were one on the outside gold and one on the inside gold was to remind us, you just worked on keeping your outer gold like behavior. Now let's go to the next level and work on the inner gold. Work on refining your thoughts, as we said earlier. It's just as necessary to work on the inside. You might think, wow, I'm so great. I act always so appropriately, so dignified. And yeah, I'm amazing, right? Someone could think of themselves that way. But really, they might be seething on the inside with anger and sadness or anxiety, and they happen to, just have that ability to have that self-regulation to the outside world. But just as important is the inner chamber of our thoughts that need to be purified, to be able to get closer and closer to our Holy of Holies within our neshama. Because thoughts have destructive forces. Thoughts are just as powerful as deeds. In many ways, refining our thoughts are even more important to focus our attention on, because thoughts create emotions, and emotions create reactions. So the more and more we refine our thoughts, the more and more we can have more gold-like behavior. So we want to be gold on the inside and gold on the outside, and really through and through be gold. So the question is asked, why is there the wooden box in the middle? Why isn't that gold? And that represents, from the word of shittim, which comes from the root word of shtus, that there is a place to even elevate and use like the silliness and the mundane in our life for a holy purpose. As Rava used to say a joke to prepare his students so that the joke would calm them down and make them feel happy, and then he would start his lecture. Or the tzaddikim, they used to take myrtle twigs in their mouth, and they would start dancing in the weddings, with such foolishness, because shtus comes from the word foolishness. And it seems like so inappropriate, like you're so honorable. Why are you dancing like this in such a undignified manner? No, when they were dancing, they were bringing holiness down. And it seemed like they were dancing in a like as if not to be holy and to be, God forbid, judged, unfortunately, because of their behavior, when in fact they were really doing a holy endeavor, because when you dance in front of a bride and groom, the holiness of God's wisdom would be drawn down to the holy couple so that they would have a greater strength to withstand the challenges of marriage. So even some things that are so mundane are also the holy of holiest deeds. They just may appear to be mundane, like eating. When you eat, there are so many holy sparks in that food. It seems such a mundane and crass behavior, but it's actually so holy. So many holy sparks being released and elevated. So the middle box representing that, to be careful. You see something on the outside, it seems not so gold, not so pure, but you have no idea the background story of why that person behaved that way. There was a story of a man who, in the midst of a funeral, went into a pottery shop. And it was his best friend's funeral, and everyone could not believe, why would in the midst of the procession go into the pottery store and leave such a holy moment of such an important mitzvah of accompanying the dead. And later it was found out that because his friend had a disease, they were going to burn his tefillin. And the only way the government would allow for the tefillin not to be burned with all his other disease-ridden garments was if he would have an earthenware, wrap it in an earthenware, and bury it. So, and he had only a certain amount of time to get back to redeem those tefillin with the earthenware. So we see everybody was judging him as if he was going shopping for something for his garden or something. They had no clue of what he was doing. It seems to be so foolish. It seems to be so opposite of gold. But it's not. My dear neshamas out there in the world, in this day and age, so much we see out there that's so fake and fraudulent also. We have to be really careful to see with the right eye, to see that there may be something deeper to what's happening more than we can even imagine. To realign ourselves daily with these steps to get to our holy of holiest, our neshama. So I'm just going to do a basic review. We're going to go virtually into the Bais Hamikdash soon with a meditation. But before we do, remind ourselves, each artifact, each part of the Beit Hamikdash helping us get one step closer with its messages to our own Holy of Holies. So we said, the Mizbeach, that was Hanechoshet, that was the outer Mizbeach, reminding us our outer behaviors, our number one priority to sur meira and aseh tov, like really be careful how we behave to others, because that influences other people and has its effect. Then we were saying how the kior, the process by which we rinse away all of our negative tendencies to engage in the physical in a holy manner. Then came the Mizbeach HaZahav, the process by which we continue to bond and connect to Hashem. The menorah, the shulchan on the right, being satisfied with whatever materialism we have. It doesn't mean we have to be minimalist in life, but whenever we use whatever we use, we have a holy intent, that it's for L'Shem Shamayim. Then we have the menorah to help us enlighten our soul, always reaching higher so that we can help others enlighten their soul, so that our neshama could be a powerhouse. And this takes place by learning Torah right after the process of our prayer service. And then, when we take all these steps, we are closer and closer to our Holy of Holies within. Today's the day. Let's try our best to remember these messages daily. Torah and mitzvot, every step of the way, helps us become that light. So without further ado, get in a comfortable position, and hopefully this meditation will really help the rest of your fast and help you really embrace the day and gain the most out of it. Okay, so close your eyes. Get in a comfortable position. And with every breath you take, you just feel a wave of relaxation. And you can almost already see the vision of the Beit Hamikdash from a distance. As best you can, take deep, calming breaths. Focus on every part of your body. Wanting and willing to be a light, to be an influencer, to be the best that you can be. Take a moment and reclaim yourself right now. Reminding yourself that you can take the steps to get to your Holy of Holies, the true person that you are. You realize you need a lot of emunah, you realize you need a lot of faith, to daily fight the battles to be the best that you can be. Before your very eyes, you begin to see, as you take each step closer to the Beit Hamikdash, the magnificent, holy Beit Hamikdash before your very eyes. It's as if you have an aerial view. In full view, you see the Beit Hamikdash in its glory. You sense the Kedusha in the air. Being so whole, so holy energies around you. Being so close to this holy site stirs within you an amazing, delightful energy, bringing even more Kedusha for your neshama. You actually see the Chatzer. And you think about, what is it within you that you need to bring up as a sacrifice daily? Are you dealing with anger or aggressiveness? Are you dealing with anxiety? Are you more prone toward lustfulness? Whatever it is that you need to refine yourself, as you see the Mizbeach, remind yourself, this is my daily service that I do when I pray. I'm offering up myself, the outer self, to get to the true self within. You see yourself standing there, as if standing before Hashem, asking Him, please, please, take this animalistic tendency away. And just like in the Beit Hamikdash, you see descending a huge, fiery shape like a lion descending, miraculously consuming your animal, your animalistic tendency. You can only see now yourself without any obstructions, without any negativity, you in your true self. All the outer energies that are negative have melted away from the fire of Hashem. You're free now to move forward. You're free to next engage in purifying yourself. You see the vessel of the kior and the water streaming. All leftover residues are washed away so that you can partake in the physical in the most holy and awesome way. The holy waters of Torah help you wash away the negative. The holy waters of Torah, as you learn Torah after prayer, gives you the strength to deal with the physical in a most holy way. Train yourself right now, no matter what's going on around you. You're starting your day right with an amazing holy foundation as you see the holy waters of the kior. You're now seeing the Mizbeach HaZahav, the shining golden bright Mizbeach. Your desire to bond ever closer to Hashem burns within you. You see the beautiful effusion of Hashem's radiance surrounding your neshama, having taken the steps to bond with Hashem. And the shulchan now is before you. And you see the table, and you see the showbread, and it reminds you to elevate the necessary and discard the unnecessary. To engage in the physical world and to be satisfied with your lot. To know when to turn to the physical, to elevate it, and to know when to turn away from it because it's over the top, unnecessary. Every deed done l'shem shamayim. You know that you want to see the world with the right eye. You want to see whatever's around you as holy and as beautiful. You then see the menorah from a distance, and the menorah you're getting closer to. You see the steps reminding you to reach new heights in order to help the other. And you see the oil reminding you that a continuous flow of God's wisdom, Hashem's Torah, will help you keep not only clear and pure, but bright and light. See yourself now a light. Being comfortable in your own skin because you have attained a deeper, best revelation of your true self, now ready to go out and shine your light. See the menorah shining as a symbol of yourself shining, your light, your power, your goodness, your everything that can influence the world for the better. And then you see the curtain reminding you, look behind the scenes. You don't know what is really behind what just happened. Remember, everything behind everything is holy. And as you see the curtain opening, you see the Holy of Holies. It is shockingly beautiful. You can feel the Kedusha penetrating every part of you. You know that Hashem does everything with precision and with love. As you see the Kruvim embracing each other, you realize God is always with you on your journeys, always with you, holding you strong. Giving you the strength, giving you faith, giving you your neshama. You see the gold on the outside and the gold on the inside, and even the wood in between. Everything is holy. See yourself as that walking Aaron, so holy, the words you say, the tone of your voice, your stature of humbleness. See yourself with such a humbleness, so pure and holy on the outside. And you see the gold within you, all your thoughts, so pure, so holy, so positive, so full of faith. Take a moment and see that vision of your Holy of Holies finally redeemed. The years of your longing and yearning to be the best. Hashem is listening to your prayers. As you see this vision, please take the time to pray to Hashem. I know it's you, Hashem, that's going to help me be that light. Me be that Holy of Holies. Constant stream of Kedusha. A constant strength for others. Because being that living example of what it is to be gold on the inside and on the out. You feel the Shekhinah resting within you. You feel the Kedusha. You see yourself walking back to your home, your Bais Hamikdash HaMe'at, and you see yourself now dealing with everyone around you in a most holy way. Your feet giving you the strength to just withstand the test of the day. Your heart calmly beating because you know Hashem is embracing you and is always with you. Your heart is beaming with light and your smile is radiating all the truths that you have gathered and gained today on this holy day of the fast. And when you're ready, open your eyes. You have had your experience of your Holy of Holies, forevermore guiding you.